I'm Brandon Peters from Geek Vibes Nation and the Brandon Peters Show, and I'm here today with an actor who walks a balance of lead and character actor performances, but he also directs with his latest film, a reimagining of the Toxic Avenger, jumping from theaters to being available to rent or purchase digitally and available on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray and standard Blu-ray on October 28th from Cineverse. Macon Blair, hello.
Good to see you. I love your Batman poster back
You love
there.
that bat? Yeah, I love it too. The original poster was just the symbol back in
Yeah. No,
'89,
I
and this
remember.
is
Oh, yeah.
good art. I can't remember the artist to credit them right now, so very sorry.
No, I've
Um,
never seen that one before. It's very cool.
Very cool. So before we get to Toxic Avenger, this is a
Yeah.
pretty special moment making because 11 years ago, you were a part of my origins as a podcaster
Really?
back in the day. Yes.
What did I do?
So I interviewed for a site I used to I wrote for 10 years. It was called Why So Blue, and I interviewed you and Jeremy Saunier for Blue Ruin, which was coming out on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is about this interview was I didn't have podcasting equipment. And I definitely couldn't go mobile at the time, but I really wanted to talk to the two of you because that was, I think, maybe my favorite film of 2013 that I saw. I think it might have come out theatrically earlier, but I didn't see it till home video. But I interviewed you guys. I took my lunch break at work. I went on a hot day into a car. I had my iPhone with a voice recorder, and I had you two on a iPad or something. Or no, I had the iPad using the voice recorder and you guys on the phone. But I was sitting there trying to record like this. And then before the interview ended, it burned out and we were done. But you we kept in touch a little bit through DMs for a couple weeks, but
Did you
it was
get
pretty cool.
did you get the recording though?
I got a recording.
You
I
got
just had
most
to
of it.
add a little bit outroing it,
Good, good.
but yeah, that's a very special moment to me as I've jumped off as a
Fantastic.
podcaster since then. I obviously have better stuff to do that.
Yeah, you got a microphone now and head all
Microphone,
sorts of shit. This is
headsets.
great.
I'm clearly not in a car.
Yeah.
So that's good as well. But nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
And yeah, you have a really awesome film out here, Toxic Avenger.
Thank
And
you.
so let's go back. Let's do the boring thing of starting at the beginning. But where did your conversations about reimagining the Toxic Avenger start? And was the idea kicking around the studio when you met with them anywhere in line with your vision for what was to be the film?
It was the studio had just like I think within a couple of weeks partnered with Trauma to handle the rights and do a new version. So it was very new at Legendary, and they were just casting a wide net and soliciting a bunch of people for pitches for the script. And and I kind of knew them a little bit, and so they asked me if I wanted to pitch. And honestly, my first reaction, I was kind of hesitant because I had seen the original when I was a kid, and like a lot of people, I was like, this thing is so fucking singular. It's like, what's to be gained in remaking it? And I was a little nervous that it was going to follow a gritty, self-serious version. Nobody had suggested that. This was just me being worried. But I was like, okay, so I went in and just basically told them that I don't have a story yet, but I do feel strongly that the tone should be, lean into the silliness, keep it R-rated, keep it a performer in a suit, retain that kind of trauma earnestness. And if you can keep the vibe of the original movies intact, and then create a sort of a new story for the character so it feels fresh and has a reason for being made, then that would be the way to go. And the exec was a big Trauma fan, and that turned out to be exactly what he wanted to hear. I didn't know that at the time, but he called me back, and that sort of evolved into a writing job, and that evolved into the directing job.
So you're like, I'm really doing this. I'm really gonna be the person that makes the prestige Toxic Avenger.
There was, I don't know about the prestige part. There were several steps along the way where I was like, they're going to recognize that the wires have been crossed and this is not what they wanted to do, or somebody from the next floor up is going to come down and visit and be like, you're doing what? And pull the plug on the whole thing. And then at a certain point, I was over in Bulgaria and we were getting ready to shoot, and I was like, oh shit, I guess there's no turning back, and it got really real quick, and it was really exciting because the whole thing was just like it was a special movie to me growing up. It was very informative as far as like the age that my friends and I saw it was right about when we were teaching ourselves how to make our own movies on
Mhm.
VHS. This was like kind of one of the first independent movies I can remember seeing. Like, oh wow, this is just regular folks that made a movie on their own. And that was really, really inspirational. And then I was also very aware that the movie exists and it has this kind of cult of personality around it because people love it so much and it's endured for 30, 40 years. And people are really passionate about it. So there was a lot of pressure on it to not screw it up. And so when that sort of landed, it sort of was like, okay, let's make sure that we do something that can sort of live up to its title. But it felt like an honor to do that.
Gotcha. Did you you mentioned the original a lot, but did you keep up with the sequels at all, or have you moved
Yeah.
on to other things by the time you came
I,
around?
I did keep up with the sequels. In a way I had kind of moved on. I didn't really watch the cartoons all that much, although we
Hmm.
did take some of the design from the cartoon for this version of Toxie as far as how he looked a little bit. Um, but it was mainly like the feeling of watching that first movie. My friend's older brother had a videotape and we watched it and we were just like, I cannot fucking believe this. Dude's in a tutu. He's like throwing people into garbage cans. It like everything about it was so over the top. And there was something, it wasn't so much the plot, it was just the feeling of watching it that like I really wanted to, in making this movie, have the feeling of watching it, regardless of what happens or what the story is. That's important too. But I'm talking about the overall vibe. If it could feel at least in the same lane as it felt, back in '85 or whenever it was that I watched it, then that was sort of the goal.
Gotcha. And now, when you're making this, and there's this huge history of Toxie, this huge history of trauma, how do you balance making this movie a love letter, having Easter eggs, and appreciating Toxie and trauma's history while also trying to pave the way for something new and creating your own film with it?
I part of it is just sort of like keeping in mind what was special to me about it, and sort of having a trust that specificity is going to be universal. And if it was something that meant a lot to me, that just taking it on faith that that's going to mean a lot to other people out there, and sort of keeping my eye on that. And also the part that's less easy for me to do is just sort of giving yourself up to the idea that no matter what you do, it's not going to please everybody because it's a beloved character and it's a remake. And anytime that there's something, that if it's an adaptation of a book or a remake or if it already exists out there and you're doing a new version of it, then it's just not going to work for everybody. And that's like I kind of had to let that go and just trust that like if we did our best to try and be faithful to the spirit of the originals, that that would connect with as many people as possible. And so that's kind of what we did. And then I just sort of thought of it as like, it obviously it wasn't going to be like a shock movie, but I thought if we approached it as a crowd-pleasing comedy, and it
Mhm.
can have the gross out moments and it can have like the monsters and the goop and stuff, and that's certainly fun, but I didn't think we were not going to outsaw Saw, we're not going to out terrify or Terrifier, but we could maybe sort of live in what I was always thinking of as kind of like just the big broad comedy world. And so I talked a lot about Naked Gun and Airplane and Top Secret and those kinds of movies when talking to the crew about this one.
Top Secret, love Top Secret.
Yeah.
Big fan of that movie. Uh,
Yeah. How silly can you get?
oh yeah. Oh man, so good. Was Peter Dinklage in mind as you wrote this, or did anything change when you knew you had his talents and personality on board for the character?
He was not in mind. I knew I wanted to do something with him. But we didn't really have anybody in mind specifically when I was writing it. The only one I really, the Elijah Wood character I wrote specifically for him, and the Guthrie character, the guy that lives up in the woods, I wrote specifically for David Yao because I had worked with those two guys on my previous movie and really loved them and kind of wanted to include them. But for the leads, I knew that given that this was a studio movie, that we were going to need somebody with some sort of prominence, and so it was we had sort of a long list of people that were trying, but I knew Peter a little bit, and I just there was something about knowing how he can sort of rope the audience in a very brief amount of time, and really get them on his side. And because we only had about 20 minutes at the top of the movie before he disappears into makeup, and so I wanted somebody that very quickly the audience can be like, okay, I'm rooting for this guy and feel connected to him even after he turns into the monster. And so that was the thinking when we went out to him. But he turned out to also have been a fan of the original. Didn't need any translation as far as the sense of humor. Totally got it and was up for it. But nothing really changed on the page. It was he might have improvised a couple of things here and there, but it was we didn't really change anything for him specifically. He just kind of read it, and I was prepared to be like, I know it sounds pretty foolish, but here's the play. He's like, no, 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 I get it. I get it. I've seen the original 100 times. I understand. I was like, okay, takes a lot of the translation out of it.
Okay, cool. All right. My last question here that I got. You currently have two episodes of the FX show, The Lowdown, now
Yeah,
streaming on Hulu,
yeah.
with Peter Dinklage appearing in both of them. Is this the start of a longer collaborative relationship now between the two of you? Any ideas or things you two may be thinking about down the road?
Well, that was good luck. Sterling Harjo, who showed that is, wanted to cast Peter, and I just said like, I hope this works out, and luckily it did. It was good luck that my episode happened to have him in it, so that was a lot of fun. But yeah, as a matter of fact, about 3 weeks ago, I wrapped another movie with Peter. It's much smaller than Toxic Avenger in terms of budget and scope. It's a independent movie, a road movie, but it's another comedy, and Peter's in it as well. So yeah, I'd be very happy if I got to keep working with him for the rest of my career.
And you should tackle some more noir because your episodes on there are fantastic there.
Thank you. It was a
But
lot of fun to do. I hope that show comes back. It was a fun one to work on.
All right. Well, appreciate your time, Macon. I was the guy who stood up and clapped in Oppenheimer when you took the screen for the first time, just so
I
you know.
appreciate that. I'll send your check in the mail. It's a little late, but I appreciate that.
Hey, any time is a good time. And yeah, this is Macon Blair. I'm Brandon Peters for Geek Vibes Nation. Thank you for watching.